sort of what we've got. Now, I watched a demo, and it said about positioning the meeting owl that you've got to kind of mess around and see what works best for the room you're in and the group you're with.
Definitely, depending on the type of meeting you're having, and whether it's more collaborative or someone presenting at the front of the room would change on where you'd want to put the device.
Okay.
But I can give just kind of a quick rundown of what the device is. So it's an all-in-one conferencing device.
Yep.
And making it all-in-one is the fact that it's the camera, microphone, and speakers in one device.
Yes.
And I did encourage you to select the speaker, and the reason I had you do that, and it's not so important here since we don't have anyone on the other end talking back to us.
Right.
But if you were not to select the speaker and you had like a monitor or speakers over here, the device would look at that sound.
Oh, I see.
And so you want to have the speakers because it's designed specifically so that you don't have a distraction.
Right.
The device turn somewhere else.
Right. So we don't have anybody remotely connecting to this meeting over Google Hangouts, but we easily could. And that person then, when they spoke, we would hear them from the owl as well.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the microphones are an array of microphones all around the outside. And
yes.
One of the most common questions we get is, what's the pickup of this device? So ideally, you want to sit within 6 feet in terms of the video pickup and kind of dimensionally how big and small you would be in the picture. But the microphones actually pick up to 12 feet away. So we'll pick up voices further than you would optimally hear see the video moving around the screen. The video is using both visual and audio cues to figure out where the speakers are in the room. It can show up to 3 different panes in what we call the stage and the area below. We love to do this. The part above is the panorama.
Right.
And that panorama is one of my favorite features because when I first started working in the company, I was remote to a team in California. One of our investors liked to sneak in late to the meetings and sit in the back and try to
lurk.
Yeah, just kind of jump in with a question and catch you off guard. Hard to do when you can see them come in the room. So it's a really nice feature to be able to see who is there in the room participating. And also, you can get a better feel for how people are reacting, whether they're paying attention and such. You get that context. But also, it's really meant for collaborative meetings. So it wouldn't be for, a large, the town meeting type things, but for a smaller collaborative committee like this, it's really nice.
Right.
So I'm close to if I speak, I'm just trying to see what happens.
Yeah, go for it.
So it changes the video.
It carves out a little window for you so that you are now, people who are watching remotely see that, okay, Jim is speaking now.
And it keeps track of kind of who the active speakers are in the room. And so if I spoke and then you spoke, we both stay up there. And it's all dependent on how big the owl thinks you are. So if you talk a lot with your hands, you get a larger pane that's dedicated to you.
How about just big personality?
Big personality, that's a good description.
So if Paul stopped talking, eventually he would get squeezed off.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. And if you're sitting very close to each other, you might both share the same pane. Try to make good decisions.
So what's really cool is you've got this 360 camera that gives you the whole room up there, and then I guess you guys using software are actually carving up that 360
So
view.
we're actually a bunch of roboticists. So we're using sensor integration to figure out who to look at in the room.
Yeah.
But that picture you're seeing across the top is this is a fisheye lens. It's capturing all that in one lens. It's not moving the camera, it's not stitching together anything, that's a single lens. And we're just taking that information and parsing it out to show you who the active speakers are in the room.
Okay. So maybe with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and then we can sort of talk about what we've just been talking about kind of on the, should I do that? Yeah. So let me call the November meeting of the IT Advisory Committee's subcommittee on 21st Century Government, or the 21st Century Committee, to order. And I think we're all here actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Might be a first.
It might be a first. So I'm really happy to have Amy DiDio from Belmont and Owl Labs here with us to demonstrate the Meeting Owl, which is some technology. One of the things that we took as our charge in this subcommittee was looking at ways to use technology to make government functions, in particular committees, more accessible both to the public, to people who might not come out on a Wednesday evening to town hall at 7 p.m. when it's dark outside. I want to attend from home. And also, ideally, at some point, maybe down the road, to committee members themselves, so that folks who are on committees might be traveling for work or stuck late at work, or stuck at home for various reasons can also participate. And one of the challenges to doing that is the technology challenge, right? So getting that in the committee room experience, both the people who are at home and to potentially committee members, and also not creating a ton of technological hurdles that committee members who may not be technical have to clear in order to just do this very simple thing. So I can't remember how I saw Meeting Owl. I think I might have done some Googling around and you guys popped up. And when I found out that first of all, that it was a local company, and second of all, that I at least
recognized
had a second degree contact through your husband, who is Belmont's fastest man.
You haven't messed Russ Lano then.
Scott's faster than Russ. And you're married to Belmont's fastest woman, depending on the year.
She would appreciate that.
Yeah. Talking about running here. So what we've been doing, and I'll do a little demo of our setup thus far for making these, because we've been making committees internet accessible or web accessible for a while, is using this and this, right? So I'm demoing the sort of shifting features. Tripod with a wide angle webcam on top of it, and kind of setting it up generally here. We've experimented around and maybe shooting down on the table. So this is what you would see in a conference room, maybe if you had a webcam up on top of a whiteboard.
It's exactly how we set up our demos. We do that for our customers. Is we set up a webcam in the room and we start the meeting that way, and then we call it the big reveal, switching over to this camera.
It really is. I mean, having experienced web conferencing systems at work, you have the one camera at one end of the room. I'm sure you've seen this all the time. You have the one camera at one end of the room, and you can't see the person who's at the far end of the table usually. Or you see the backs of people's heads depending on which way.
And we could move this so it's in the center too, so it's closer to you guys as we get started.
I did notice when Paul was speaking down there in the center of the frame, does it have trouble localizing where you are, the farther away you are?
Definitely the further away you are, the harder the time it has kind of figuring out your width. So it certainly would have a harder time centering, and it's, there's only so many pixels it can pick up in your face the further you are around away, right?
Or does it use spatial recognition also to find that?
Looking for
something that looks like a human.
Yeah, human.
Human shapes.
Human shapes. Description.
So the other thing we've used just to give the audio boost is like a blue condenser microphone that I'll hook up as the microphone. We'll kind of plant that, and that's got 360 sound. So we generally have gotten, I think, good video quality, good audio quality, but it's too cumbersome a setup really for.
It's a single angle.
It's a single angle. I think if you say, okay, well, all committees should be making them available. All you need to do is have a tripod, laptop, and wide angle webcam for every meeting. That's going to be too high a hurdle. So,
do you need a laptop in the room for this to work?
Absolutely, it needs to have a laptop to host.
That's where the
some type of computer, right? Like not all computers are portable, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it definitely needs a computer. But it doesn't. All the software is on board, so it doesn't need any software installed on the computer. There's no drivers that need to be installed. It's a standard USB.
So you missed when I set it up. It was basically just plug it in, go into. And the other thing what I thought was, oh, this is going to be a cool device, but maybe with some proprietary cloud storage platform for the video or a proprietary app that everyone needs to download and use, and that would be another hurdle. But in fact, no.
No, that's not the case. You pay one price and you get this device. You use it on any video conferencing platform you desire to use. We have kind of a suite of ones, including Google Hangouts, that we work to make sure that we're compatible with, and there are others that we kind of try our best. Some people mess with the
aspect ratio.
Yeah, the aspect ratios and cropping.
Yeah,
it's a battle for us because we're really trying to use the most of the video.
Yeah. And is it vision processing only, or is it is there some motion detection as well? It's just
Now you're getting to proprietary
Okay.
things.
Special sauce, can't.
Yeah, there's a special sauce in there that uses visual and audio cues to identify who's speaking in the room.
So if this was one element of a multi-location video conference, though, I'm taking it that this video will be fed and appear, like we use Blue Jeans at work, right? So you have one, so this would appear as one location.
Yep.
In the Blue Jeans video. So
I haven't used Blue Jeans. We use Zoom a lot at work. But yeah, each endpoint could have this device. Generally speaking, they do like the speaker view, right? Where it like brings up the video largest that's active.
Yeah.
So we just switch between different locations. But again, because we enlarge that individual speaker, once it minimizes, it's hard to see the panorama, but at least the person speaking is still fairly prevalent.
May I ask, is this one way or is this even for conversation? Then you have two meeting rooms?
Yep, this is, well, you don't require this device in the other space. You could have a remote person on a laptop or, another conference room
Well,
setup.
it's right,
But
second
yes, it's
conference
intended to
room,
be two-way.
let's say across the country or somewhere.
Yes. So you would speak to whomever is remotely attending through the meeting owl. It's got microphones as well.
Well,
But they would
you
not
might
need-
want to see if they have the same device, you might want to see that.
Sure, yes.
Right.
That would all be subject to whatever video conferencing software you're using, right? So if it's Google Hangouts, however it wants to present the video from each one of the feeds, it does. Are you guys going to have your own video conferencing software where you kind of splice the way you want to do video and that kind of stuff? Probably not.
It's a big effort.
Yes.
We need a few more investments.
That's fun.
But for now, what I can tell you is it is, the one thing we haven't talked about is it is a connected device. It's an IoT device. So you can use Bluetooth to connect to it with your phone, which allows you to do a limited amount of features at this point, and you can put it on Wi-Fi. And the reason for doing that is that we have been updating the software. We've put out like 9 updates since we started because we're new to the market and we're running into new use cases. For instance, it's a large company that's using it for focus groups, and so they have some features they want to be able to do. And so we've pushed various updates, but we do all that included in the upfront price. We don't charge any additional price for those updates and bug fixes and things that come with the device.
Cool. How much is the device?
It is $799.
Which is, actually, I was looking at some of the comparable products. It's actually kind of at the low end for video,
I was curious what your
video.
setup was with the puck and the conference cam and
Yes, that definitely is less than dollars, but obviously it's got its limitations as well. That's a sort of DIY, but your near competitors are more kind of companies that make webcams and are doing more of a telepresence thing, maybe with a wide angle lens and I mean, the other thing is with the app, if you're doing like whiteboard demonstrations, you can kind of fix the owl on the whiteboard, right, or direct where it's looking. So you can use the app to kind of override its automatic sensing.
I did it for not realizing I can't actually see where I pointed it.
Yeah.
So I can actually move around the room and force the camera.
Yes.
You can see the box up here shows you where you're doing that. And the problem is if you're whiteboarding, it might focus on you and not the stuff you're trying to point out on the whiteboard, right? Or once you turn your head, it might have a harder time realizing that you're there and staying focused.
Can multiple people control that at the same time, or is there one point of entry for that control?
Once one person takes control, it locks other people out.
Got it.
And it's Bluetooth, so it's not like someone remote is doing this. You have to be in the room to take control.
Cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Are there other questions for Amy?
is there a mute button?
There is. The buttons are pretty subtle at the bottom there, but you'll see there's a couple of buttons.
Oh, yeah.
The mute button's actually on both sides.
Oh,
of the
was that
device.
volume control too?
There's a volume control, yep. Not much
Maybe
use today since we don't
that's
have
the mute
volume
button,
there.
maybe?
That's mute. So if you hit the mute button to demonstrate, big, huge mute thing in the middle of the screen. audio.
Uh-huh.
And we got some feedback from customers, it's not how they expect it to behave based on other video conferencing systems, so we switched it, but we didn't want to be subtle about it because we don't want people to get confused, so we really made that audio mute logo quite prominent.
So there's no video mute right now?
No, not currently.
And this doesn't require anything really
That's
on
called the
board.
off switch, right?
Unplugging it.
So you could use this with, you could pair this with, say, a Chromebook or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because, it doesn't require any onboard application software.
Yeah, it just needs to be a USB device.
Just
So
a USB
no,
device.
no iPads, but yes to the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
iPhone.
No iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are people? What does the Owl Labs customer look like? Who is using this? Who's taking advantage of it? What are the applications?
That's a really great question. We've been doing lots of research on the people that are buying it, and I can tell you that it's actually not a very clear picture. Companies that have collaborative meetings, it's the simple answer. We've had a ton of universities buy, and I think part of that is just that universities talk to each other. So it's been a really great network for people to find out about it, not necessarily that their use case is more prominent than others. But there are like large campuses at schools that are trying to avoid, forcing their teachers to, grab a shuttle bus. And so now they're making these kind of things available. So that,
Interesting.
yeah, you have like the Silicon Valley schools like Stanford, the commutes are getting so bad that they're actually starting to provide remote services for
So the driver is we're doing a lot of meetings where we've got remote attendees. We want the best experience possible for those.
Yep. And then the other use case that we've seen come up is focus groups, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Historically, focus groups are kind of recorded from behind the glass, right?
Yes.
And the feedback we got is that these consulting companies doing these focus groups, people are actually starting to take the video and show it to executives, not just tell them about it, but the video quality is now providing enough experience and feeling from it that it's worth showing executives to show them.
So they want something in the room that can provide a little bit more of an intimate feel when they're showing.
And
this
far
video.
less intimidating, right, than having a
Yeah.
camera in the middle of it.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's the other, I think that's something that we've experienced here as well, which is when you put the webcam up, and we've talked about this, it changes the dynamic in the room where suddenly somebody's like, oh, we're on camera. Of course, you are on camera here as well, but it is
It's more subtle.
It's more subtle, and I think it would probably have the effect that people would not.
Yeah, it already feels more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any public sector interest?
Yes. I'm contemplating whether I get in trouble for listing all the places.
You don't need to. You can just sort of say what types of. Are we talking like state, city government, local?
All of the above. I've seen everything from like waste management within a city to, I want to say like NASA has one, GSA, SSA, so some federal agencies. Something that I'm sure you guys would deal with, and I know they deal with, is getting these devices online and keeping them online. So we do notify you when there's updates so that you can put the device online temporarily. You can use the app. That's one thing the app is actually quite nice for, is you put it online, you can push that update. So usually they happen overnight, so your device doesn't reboot on you in the middle of a meeting, right? But in the case where you're not keeping them online all the time, you can put it online and force an update.
So if this were deployed permanently in this room, you would just connect it to the local Wi-Fi, and it would get its updates and so on via that.
Yes, but I highly suspect in this environment that they wouldn't leave it in the room all the time.
Yes.
No.
Well, that is a question, which is, it's an expensive device, and so how is it being secured?
And at the moment, we do not have a way to secure it. It's a common question from customers.
Yeah. Because you'd have to, that's one of the things I was thinking about for a town like Belmont. Do you have a lockbox in each room where you've got the device and a shared combo or something like that? You would need to do something like that. Or does the chair but it would be used across committees, so it would be one per committee, it would be one per room. It's an interesting question.
The same thing applies to any camera equipment in a public room like this. It's not really unique.
Yeah.
Situation, right?
Or you have a stock somewhere or some wares in a checkout process, which is what we've been playing with at work.
Really? I mean, you could get.
And there's not
Well,
lockers or.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah.
like a smart, yeah, with like a cell phone.
It's not, no, it's nothing so sophisticated.
Go to
No,
an office.
it's nothing so sophisticated. It's the reception desk.
Okay,
Right.
in a drawer.
It was,
in a
so,
locked drawer.
so the problem, we've got really nice conference facilities, and we have some, smaller ones, but then there's regular conference rooms. But people have gotten really used to the idea of, you can do a lot of stuff just from your desktop. And so, and since the really nice conference facilities are, fewer and harder to book, and the other ones that are also nice, but they're really small. Well, what if you want, so something like this would be great to have in a regular conference room, where typically all you have is a phone, and then other people can go from their office, but then there's no video. So we've had some desktop competitors, and the life of me, I couldn't tell you what brand it is. It's not my department. Some managers had bought them for their own offices so that they could have a local VTC, and someone got the bright idea, said, well, let's put those in the conference room. They walked within a week.
Oh, really?
So someone said, well, we really want to have the capability, so let's put like 3 at each reception desk, because that covers enough, for
Simultaneous meetings.
And, meeting organizer can reserve them, go to the reception desk, pick it up, and then bring it back at the end.
Right.
Because they're portable.
So the challenge from Belmont's standpoint is so many
So-
committee meetings are evening meetings.
Yeah, who could do
Yeah,
that, sure.
that.
How do you do that?
You probably have to, as you reserve a conference room, and the night before, come to the town hall, take it and use it.
Yeah, or something in the room itself, that you can unlock and get the device.
It'd be interesting, so you were saying that it works best when people are within 6 feet of the camera?
Mhm.
So, obviously works for this room. I'm not sure, like, if you surveyed all the rooms here, how many of them have sort of the right layout? Like, you wouldn't want, I suppose you could even use it for a board of selectmen meeting, even though it's a bigger room. If you put it on the table in front of the selectmen, that would work, I think, just fine, because they do most of the talking.
Yeah, it's kind of like don't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? So yeah, or I can think like the Chenery meeting room where you've got warrant committee, you've got 15, 20 people around, in a kind of horseshoe type setup. That's probably going to strain the device to. No,
It doesn't strain the device, although and this is definitely a setup we've seen our customers use. The question is, what do you put it on in the middle of the
Put it in, yeah.
So we've seen various stacking methods used to raise the owl to an appropriate height to do the meeting. But
Right.
yeah, we've seen that.
Kind of just put it in the middle of that horseshoe and it
stacks of
figures
books,
figures it out.
boxes.
We can have a perch. So-
perch.
Perch for the owl.
We've been asked that, like why we don't have like the, for your tripod.
Yeah,
the
the
tack
owl
on the
perch.
bottom.
I already see product, the owl's perch.
Yes, perch.
Can you tie in,
We do like our puns at Owl's Fun.
can you tie in additional microphones? Because if the room gets really large, you want to have a visitor microphone for the public or so.
Right.
The speaker being on the device is important because of that distraction of the sound, but actually you could switch microphones. You just have to tie it into your computer in some way. It wouldn't tie directly into the owl itself.
But like you're saying, if you had Bluetooth to this guy, you could pair with another mic.
Right.
There are certainly things the device is capable of that we're working on. Yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly see that like a long room where you would want a companion, an owlet, an owl chick.
Well, you could always have, you could also have 2 owls potentially cover a wider.
Yes.
And
size.
remote mute buttons.
You guys make a really interesting crowd to talk to.
We're redesigning one product for you.
Okay. Do you mind if we could do just
Continue,
keep the owl with us for the
Sure. I gotta take off at 7. I probably can't stay till 7:15.
Could you mind saying who some of your competitors are?
It's a no. I don't like that question.
Not your department.
I think I sent a sheet that one of your salespeople had shared.
Yes,
with
that's
me.
true. We do have like the side-by-side
Yeah.
comparison. So like probably the obvious ones like Logitech, because it's USB plug and play.
Right.
It's, you know, it's not even comparable to try to put it in some of like the Cisco and Polycom products, because like price range we're not, you know, coming near them, but it's interesting to
The
look at.
the real telepresence products.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are like starting at, you know, $40,000 or something.
Yeah. It's hard to compare yourself to that.
It's good if you can, though.
Yeah. But I thought this was a really interesting product to
Yeah.
sort of get, you know, pulls together some of the things that we've been talking about and working on, just with, you know, how do you create that sense of intimacy, but also tackle some of these
Ease of use.
ease of use issues that are really, I mean, we're the IT advisory committee, so if we have technology issues, we've got plenty of talent on staff to troubleshoot them in the meeting room, but other committees are certainly not in that situation. So the more streamlined you can get it, the better. So I thought this was an interesting, and then also just the impact or the effect of it is really.
I mean, based on this, I think the issue likely to be with other committees trying it out, it's not so much the hardware, it's the software and figuring out, you know, how to get connected to Google Hangouts and that whole end of things, rather than the how or whatever.
There's definitely room for a handbook or a user's guide for other committees to sort of say, here's how you set up a Google Hangout, here's how you configure the mic and camera, here's how you know, moderate it, you know. I mean, a lot of the concerns I've heard are, oh, you know, if you have online, you're going to get trolls and people are going to be mooning you, and, you know, people are going to come and wreak havoc in your online meeting, which are, you know, almost all of these platforms have a way to mute or kick people off the meeting. It's not really an issue any more than somebody physically walking in and causing havoc in your meeting.
So for anecdotally, we do demos probably at least once a week, if not twice a week, and we do ours two-way. And we've said that we're going to have somebody come in, you know, no pants on, you know, like that's and honestly, it hasn't happened. We've had maybe some poor video etiquette, you know, like calling in with the mobile phone, you know, sirens going by or kids yelling in the background, things you kind of expect from video conferencing. But like, I've actually been pleasantly surprised at how appropriate people are that are calling in from the other end.
So I think,
we need more faith in humanity.
It's like a guide and sort of a like, hey, listen, here's the state of the art. Here's what you can do with these platforms, and sort of answer some of these questions. But anyway, so I guess let's move on just through the agenda while we've got Amy here. First would be just approving the minutes from our September meeting, which I think I handed to you guys. It's pretty short. And thank you for passing them around. And there wasn't really that much. We promised we talked about just doing the survey of peer communities regarding technology use, and so we can report out on our success in that tonight, or whether we need more time to do it.
So I vote to we accept the minutes as written, or I move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? No? Okay. They're unanimously accepted. Thank you, Jim. Why don't I, we actually have some folks attending, so let me, let's hear a little bit from the public. This is Sebastian.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about why you're here.
So I'm from Boy Scout Troop 3 or 4, which is up at the United Methodist Church off of Common Street. And I'm right now working on the Citizenship and the Community Merit Badge. So as part of that, I have to attend a town meeting. And then I think a follow-up requirement would be is interview someone from the town meeting on an issue explored within the meeting, and basically how that process is, how you go through that process and all that, and getting these things approved and going through with things discussed in the meeting.
Okay, that's a good assignment, actually. Can we tell you anything about this committee? Do you have any questions about what we do?
Yeah, I'm very interested to know more about what the committee's I'd say, integral role is within the technology department and the town itself.
Do you want to take that? Do you want So this is the Information Technology Advisory Committee, and we are a committee that's made up of citizens of Belmont who have been appointed by one of 3 different bodies, government bodies within town. One of 3 elected bodies within town. The Board of Selectmen appoints, 2 members?
3.
3 members. The school committee, which is the other elected.
4. Sorry, it's 4 and 1.
4, 4, and 1. Board of Selectmen appoints 4 members. The school committee appoints 4 members, and the library trustees appoint 1 member. And so that's the makeup of this group. And as our name suggests, we're an advisory committee, which means that we give advice to those bodies around matters related to information technology. Back when this committee was formed, which I think was probably in the late 80s, early 90s.
Mid-90s, if I
Mid-90s.
remember correctly.
Was when the town was first starting to like create a network. Like back then, it was like kind of not pre-internet, but certainly the town was not using the internet. So it was really, we've got computer networks we need to set up. We have some folks who can do it, but there's a lot of expertise within the town. Can we get some help from people who are, computer and networking experts within the town to help us tackle some of these challenges? And so in addition to the people who are appointed to be on the committee is also made up of the town's IT director, Dave Petto, the school's IT director, Steve Mazzola, and then also IT, I think, leads from the police department, the Belmont Light Department, the library. Who am I forgetting? That's it. So they're not voting members of the committee, but they attend meetings and will share with us what's going on with them. And we, to the extent that we can, help them out, give them advice, help them problem solve and troubleshoot.
We should
and help them advocate if they think there's something that needs to be done.
One of the things that we set up, which has been kind of successful for the town, is the idea that there's a town SLA for information technology needs throughout the town, and that was something that the various groups that all participated in kind of providing town IT didn't really have a formal mechanism to say, well, you're going to do this. It's going to take so long for you to provide that service to us, or we should expect that would be done in a day or an hour or whatever. So having
SLA is a service level agreement. So it's basically, we agree to provide this level of service to you.
The idea was to avoid having duplicating functions. So much of the network management, I don't know if it's still the case, lived within the school department, because for the longest time, that's where they needed more of that capability. Whereas things like backups and stuff of that lived in the town IT.
it was,
So the folks who are on this committee generally have some technology background. So I'm probably the least technical member of the committee. I'm a journalist, a technology journalist, and I've been covering the cybersecurity space for 15 years. So I have domain expertise around cybersecurity.
I'm in general IT. I'm a director at the Miter Corporation in the IT division.
and I've been sort of in the software development domain, working for various companies. We're working now for IBM as a software development manager, engineering manager.
And I've worked in software development for many years, and for the last 10 years, I've worked as a product manager at software companies. So been at Red Hat for a couple of years now.
And there are other members of the full committee so this is a subcommittee of the full committee.
So it wasn't until recently actually that we formed a couple of subcommittees, and this particular one is kind of looking at modernizing information technology within the town, sort of, because it's hard to do all the things that you want to do in a single body. So this particular subcommittee was charged with that task.
So we've got great technology professionals on the town and school side who keep our networks running smoothly, secure, up to date, patched, and they do all that. This subcommittee is looking more at what are ways that as a town government we can take full advantage of technology and use it to make a lot of different government functions kind of more efficient, more transparent, more friendly to so many citizens now do so many different things online, banking, shopping, and so on. Some of the government functions, knowing when a meeting is, coming and setting up a committee meeting if you're a committee member, obtaining information, are not as easy to access and use. So this committee is kind of looking at, well, are there some ways that we can streamline, modernize some of these functions?
And there's some interesting constraints on applying technology to town meetings and committee meetings and things like that, because Massachusetts has, as do many states, an open meeting law. And what that means is that when you're holding a meeting, you have to post in advance the fact that the meeting is going to occur a certain number of days in advance. An agenda has to be published, and anybody's pretty much free to come to the meetings with a few exceptions, like if they're discussing personnel issues about somebody, or if they're discussing things that are of a security nature, things like that. So union contracts. So some of those rules have constraints on how you can apply technology to meetings. And so, for example, we couldn't have this meeting by teleconference, by having us each be in our individual houses and participating that way, because the open meeting law has some restrictions that make that difficult today. And so we're sort of exploring things like, the owl that Amy was nice enough to bring here as a way of allowing the committee to function as in compliance with the state open meeting laws, but allow people who are not committee members to participate either by listening or other things.
We're trying to take the lead and kind of experiment with technology and make sure that we apply it properly. And
stay between the lines.
Yeah, right. And then maybe reach out to other committees.
Right, and actually potentially you could have committees that have virtual attendees, but that's a decision that the town needs. So that is actually allowed within open meeting laws, but it's a decision that the town leadership has to make, kind of community-wide. And so that one thing that this committee might do might be to make at some point a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen of saying, think that this is something that we can and should do as a community, and here's been our experience, or here are some technologies that might facilitate that.
Because they could approve it with guidelines.
They would. I don't even know if they do approve it with guidelines. I mean, I think they would. They sort of would just sort of say it is. We're going to make it allowable. The state already allows it, but we as a community are going to allow you as a committee meeting member to attend and participate in other words, debate, vote, and so on, deliberate remotely. And then, I'm not sure if the state Attorney General or if the Secretary of State has guidelines for how you do that or what needs to happen. I know that like any video that you take, it does need to be provided to the town and archived and so on. But, there's another subcommittee that meets that I don't think any of us are a member of, that is focused on cybersecurity and kind of public health. So they did a fireside chat last month in October, focused on cybersecurity, and they're going to be doing some additional presentations, I think, for the rest of the year. And so they're looking at some of the issues facing Belmont, both government and residents, around cyber threats. So those are the two things that we're working on. Other than that, we, follow traditional procedure. We call meetings to order. We take minutes. We
Post minutes.
Dave takes notes studiously as we talk about what we're talking about. And then everything that so these videos of our sessions go up on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, but the minutes and the agendas all get sent to the town clerk, whose office is right across the hallway, and she posts them on the town's website for people to download and view. So if somebody wants to know what's happening in a meeting, they can get the agenda up to 48 hours, 24 hours ahead of the meeting. And if they want to know what happened in the meeting, then they can download the minutes and read what we talked about.
One of the things we'll get to probably in a few minutes is we've been working on a survey to survey other committees in their use of technology. We're fairly, we don't operate with a lot of paper, but a lot of committees have a lot, like the school committee has a lot of handouts that are distributed to the committee members in advance, and they're not super accessible to the general public, and a lot of it is distributed by paper. And so we have a questionnaire designed to figure out if there are ways that different mechanisms could be used to sort of accelerate the sharing of information with people who live in Belmont or people who might be interested in particular agenda items that are coming up in a committee meeting, because you don't necessarily, sometimes you go to a committee meeting with a particular topic in mind and you don't want to have to wade through a whole bunch of things to find.
So like you're probably used to working with like Google Docs, right? Where
Yeah.
like you and some other classmates, you could all be editing a document simultaneously or looking at it simultaneously, right? So like kind of bringing that type of capability to a document that might be discussed in a committee, so that people on their laptops or phones or at home can be like, oh yeah, here's what they're referring to. Here's here's paragraph 3 that, I don't leave a note or put a comment or, that type of, so. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for your interest.
Yeah.
Thank you too.
Yeah, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, how did you select this committee? Just have an interest in technology and
I do, yes. I actually have an extensive background with technology. I sell electronics as a hobby.
Oh, cool.
I do a lot of technological things. I've worked with the Raspberry Pi before on some DIY projects. I know a little bit about programming, and I'm generally very good with like troubleshooting technological issues. In fact, at the Chenery, since at the time when I was there was only one IT member who would be on staff all the time in the building. I'd frequently help my teachers with the little IT problems, like in particular with the junction boxes for the smartboard. Because before you had to plug it into a junction box, which would then plug into your computer, they'd often freeze after a while. So you just had to unplug them, plug them back in, and it would get everything running again.
Say the magic words in the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And are you at Belmont High now?
I am, yes. I'm a senior now.
Okay. Congrats.
Well, tell them about your project.
And yes, I'm also just finishing my Eagle Scout project, in which I utilized Android smartphones to get GPS coordinates for all of the veteran graves within the town. And then I'm coordinating with Robert Upton from the health department, who's our veteran coordinator. And we're working on putting the coordinates into the website findagrave.com, which has all of the names already on file, thanks to another veteran who helped gather all the data. And then eventually my data will be used by the town to create a database from the town.
Very
so I'm
cool.
right now communicating with
Steven Zola?
not Stephen Zola.
You know Steve.
I know Stephen Zola.
anybody at the school knows?
Todd Constantino. So I've been speaking with him about that, and it seems like the town has already found a website which they're going to try and integrate the data into. So once my project is complete, I'm going to be supplying the town with a full list of all the names with all the coordinates and information, which will then be used for the town's project.
Very interesting. So how does the Android piece figure into it?
So the reason why I decided to use Android device specifically for my project is because it's really hard and expensive to obtain high accuracy GPS technology, such as handheld GPS units, GIS imaging systems, stuff like that. And the town does have equipment, but a lot of the equipment's getting outdated. It's not commonly maintained well. The software is very finicky, and it's information that we don't really have access to as just a member of the town and not part of the town, part of the functions of the town. So I decided to use Android smartphones specifically because due to the open source nature of Android devices, you can commonly find applications that can interpret data from the GPS and provide you with number information such as coordinates and accuracy levels, stuff like that, versus something like an iPhone or an Apple device where Apple has put limitations on what developers can do in the realm of creating an app that utilizes system functions in the phone, which includes the GPS. So for instance, with the Android device, with the decimal format for coordinate, you have 2 numbers which indicate the hemisphere that you're in. And then you have 6 digits after that which indicate the specific area you're working in. And an Apple device is only capable of displaying 5, which can have up an inaccuracy of up to 10 meters, which is a little bit more than I think for a project like this is really acceptable.
Yeah, right.
So most of the data we've acquired has been down to 3, even occasionally 2 meters of accuracy.
That's fantastic. Maybe we have a student liaison. For senior. I don't know. We only get you for a couple more months.
Recruit for the committee.
Okay. I'd ask you what your college plans are, but
Well, it's funny because I'm actually going into medicine and not
oh,
technology.
you are.
So,
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good. My wife is a physician, so that is medicine needs super smart technical people.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. Tremendous amount going on. Particularly, kind of IoT, medical and healthcare is the big kind of frontiers for Internet of Things. Okay. Any other questions for Sebastian? Okay. Let's move on now to our report out on neighboring districts. Do we have anything to report, or do we need more time?
Need more time.
Okay.
So I was confused about whether we needed to present the survey to the committee for approval before we move forward. And I sent an email about it, but didn't hear anything back. So I just held up. Other than I did explore the websites.
I did send the surveys to the full committee, right? By email.
You may have emailed the links. I don't remember. I think you did.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the part where we were going to talk to people in the neighboring towns.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's talking about that too. He's saying, do we want to? He was wondering whether we wanted to have the full committee say this is a good survey before we connect with
before we make phone calls.
Okay.
I also thought that the chair was going to. Well, actually, you're the chair. But I thought that Paul, that you were going to talk to the town clerk maybe to see if we could establish a connection with some of those towns rather than just reaching out to them cold. Maybe I misconstrued that.
Yeah, that might have been something we talked about, but I didn't.
Okay, all right.
So
I did not cold calling. So anyway, we gotta.
Okay.
How are we going to proceed on this one? So first we need the survey vetted by the committee, or do we need it?
Well, that's something that we can bring up in the full committee that's going to meet tonight. So I think as long as we're here, I think as long as we've got the full committee meeting, why not, right? And maybe bring them up to date just on where we are and get their input on the survey, and then we can certainly follow up with our destination communities. I did reach out to Wellesley and made some calls to Watertown, but never really kind of got a complete picture from Watertown.
Were you able to engage the folks at Wellesley?
Yeah. I called the town clerk in Wellesley and had a conversation with them about kind of what they do, which isn't significantly different than what Belmont does in terms of workflow and process around committees and scheduling and things like that. So yeah, but I'm 50%. I need Wellesley and Watertown. I haven't.
Okay, but there was no aha moments and speaking to folks on that?
No. I mean, it's you know, I think that they're maybe a little bit further ahead in terms of moving some of this, centralizing some of this on their town website, in terms of scheduling and so on, but not significantly different. A lot of it still flows through the clerk's office.
And did you speak to the IT
I did not.
director
I
also?
spoke to somebody within the clerk's office.
Okay.
Yeah. But that might be another follow-up, would be to speak to the IT director as well. So that's fine. I think, so when I spoke to Selectman Dash, I mean, I think one of the things that he was interested in hearing about was, for good reason, what are other communities doing around some of these initiatives, streamlining, using web-based applications, internet-based applications to manage this instead of manual processes. So that's kind of the overarching goal that we're trying to accomplish, is getting a sense from these peer communities that we've selected where they are relative to Belmont, who are some, what are some cutting edge processes.
And mainly, if you can remind me, mainly it's about the conducting of meetings, or is it more about,
Yeah, so it's about, obviously, definitely interested in if they're using telepresence, if they're allowing remote participation in meetings. And then it's also around the process, the workflow around setting up meetings, publishing minutes, publishing agendas, how much of that is centralized and manual, which it is by and large in Belmont. So you send an email to the selectmen to reserve the room. They send you an email back saying the room's reserved. You then send the draft agenda to the clerk with the meeting room that you got from the selectmen. Yeah. They send you the approval back and send another email to the selectmen to post the agenda on the website. Okay, like that's the process.
Yeah.
So that type of where are other communities? Is that basically pretty standard, or are there other communities that have really streamlined it, automated it? That kind of thing.
As you're talking through that, I wonder if one of our questions we should add when we talk to the communities we identified is, do you know of any communities that are doing anything really much more advanced than you in this area? Because we might be able to, the communities we selected were sort of picked both to be local and sort of similar-ish to Belmont.
Right.
And there might be some that are more advanced in their use of technology. And maybe by exploring a network, we might be able to find some ones.
Yes. So I did a little bit of open source research on that, and there is a sort of smart cities alliance that is kind of a group of, or it's a nonprofit group that's really promoting this type of thing, and they're highlighting. I'll send the link around to the committee. They're highlighting different projects and within different communities across the country. Kind of this type of thing. Smart government, some of it is smart, kind of more infrastructure focused, but some of it is just kind of government transparency focused as well. So I totally agree with you. I think we need both. I think we're going to need both our peer districts, because Belmont's always going to want, folks in Belmont are always going to want to know what our peer districts are doing.
Yeah.
And then also I think the bigger picture of, okay, these are the peer districts. And then if we look nationally, here's what, cutting edges, here's what really forward-looking districts are doing around these types of things.
Yeah, I thought Amy's comment earlier, which about Alaska, was interesting because Belmont is it's a small, geographically dense community that a lot of things can be done in person, kind of by their nature. But it might be interesting to see that some of the more geographically spread out communities might be forced, because of that spread, to operate in a more virtual fashion.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. Yeah, so often it is Alaska or the western states, Wyoming, Utah, where that are further ahead in things like distance learning and telepresence and stuff like that. Yeah, but I think you're probably right. we might see that. Okay, so I think resolution here would be, let's bring this up with the full committee shortly, get their input. If they haven't looked at the surveys, and it's been probably 6 weeks or something since I sent those links out, so I'm guessing even if people have looked at them, they might have forgotten. So we're gonna have to probably do a refresh, but get some input on the surveys, and then we can go forward with the, finish up the assignment of just calling peer districts, and I will share around the meeting the information on the groups that everybody says, yeah. Smart cities, smart towns groups. Does that sound like a?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point.
We're dragging our butts on this, but it's a much more amorphous project, so maybe that's warranted. I mean, my goal would, I think what would be great would be to put together some kind of a report out of this subcommittee to the full committee, and then maybe to the selectmen after that. Just pulling together what we've learned, what we've accomplished within the subcommittee, within the committee itself.
Yeah, might be worth summarizing and making a recommendation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you kind of here's some low-hanging fruit that we can pick as a down.
If there is anything.
Yeah. So that would be the goal. Whether that's a Q1 goal or maybe I think that's doable in Q1 timeframe.
Right.
Okay. Does that seem good?
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize for not moving this along more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Do accept my apology.
Do we need to vote on that?
All in favor of accepting? Okay. So there's the peer communities, and the other big survey, of course, is the one that we would give to the other committees in town. That's probably even more important, just to gauge their use of technology. Some of the things you were talking about, how much is paper-based, how do they share information? I know, for example, that Adam has made, since coming on Board of Selectmen, has actually really worked with the Board of Selectmen's office to make sure that all the documents that the selectmen are looking at in a given meeting are available on the website prior to the meeting, and that so that people can access them, whether they're in the audience or at home, watching on Belmont cable, can actually refer to whatever it is the selectmen are looking at. So that hadn't been the case, as you were saying, and that's not the case in every committee. Often they're looking at, particularly like warrant committee, school committee, tons of documents. There's no way for people at home or people in the audience to know what they're referring to. But Adam's actually, I think, gotten it now. So the selectmen, that's not the case, which I think is great. It's still all kind of via the website and PDFs. So those are, there are limitations there, but I think it's worth noting that that's a good development there. But the other survey would be to the other committees, and in terms of the telepresence, I could certainly see doing maybe a little bringing Meeting Owl to some of these other committees to do a little demonstration. Maybe purchasing Meeting Owl.
I was going to say,
and bringing it around.
And bringing one to meetings is
Yes.
probably a good idea.
So one thing we might look into is just maybe trying to talk to
We'll have Amy
Dave
for an hour at
and
a
see if
time.
maybe there might be some room in the budget to acquire one of these. As a trial balloon, we could then bring around and show kind of what the capabilities are.
I think one of the things we had talked about, and maybe we can use Sebastian as a guinea pig here, is we had talked about how a lot of the committees don't necessarily have the motivation like we do to set something like this up before the meeting and get it hooked up to the computer and the software, and actually put it on the air, so to speak. one of the ideas we had was, maybe there would be some high school students who might be interested for community service credit in, coming in and, setting things up, sitting through the meeting while the meeting ran, and then, tearing things down at the end of the meeting, because that would lower the barrier that was necessary for some of these other committees that might not be inclined to do things otherwise. Is that something you think there'd be some interest from? I mean, probably not every high school student would be interested in that, but there might be a
community service opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think absolutely you could definitely get students from the high school who'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah. Just to be the technology liaison and kind of there to help get the meeting started, launched. And
Well, you could talk to the high school person there, Ms. Melnikov.
Yeah, the volunteer.
us,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
because she might have her own stand on it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think it's could be a great, community service opportunity, and also solve some of these, like you said, like with the junction box, that type of issue is going to come up in committees as well.
But it will also be great from just the ancillary benefit of having, more students, maybe a little bit seeing how town government works and things like that too. So.
And we'll see more just after high school, actually just in high school, students running for town meeting.
Town meeting, yeah.
It's true. Bernard Carter. Carter last year. And I think he got in right before he went out to like California or something. For college. I thought that was kind of strange.
Dan's done a good job coming back from New Haven to attend town meetings. So it's been good. So other stuff, I mean, I think pending the approval of the surveys by the full committee, we're going to want to talk to Ellen about the best way to distribute them to the various committees, and maybe think about having ITAC liaisons to talk to committee chairs about, the survey and what our goals and circulating it are. Just obviously, the more people we can get to complete the survey, the better. So there might need to be some hand holding there and some help from the town clerk. It is a pretty short survey though, so I don't think it should be.
We can also put a cover letter on it to accomplish maybe the same thing.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was just that, there's been some discussion within town just around committee openings and appointments, and I might add that to the list of things to think about, ways to front or make more transparent of the process for learning of committee openings and applying to them. I think now it's kind of still a PDF and email function. So is there a way we want to add that as to a list of things?
I think that's actually a really interesting idea, because I've served on one committee in town, and I applied. I served on one of the community paths. Not the original, I suppose it goes way back, but a few years back now.
Yeah.
And I applied, and then I want to say like 9 months later, I got called asking if I'd participate, and like I got pregnant between that.
Could have gotten pregnant and had a baby.
Yeah.
If you're on that committee, there's
like
no way you would have gotten pregnant. Way too busy.
So I had a newborn when I joined the committee, but it was just a really strange process. I got brought on at the same time as a fellow by the name of Dharma. They were trying to add diversity to the meetings, and unwittingly selected Dharma thinking it was a female name.
Yes.
And it was a male.
Yes.
So just like the process for how they figure out how to add people and
Right.
and whether they're qualified or not is a little hokey.
Right.
It would be great if we were a more standardized in what they ask people and
Right.
how they think about how to approach it.
And I think some of this is just getting the word out. I think there's great desire to have many people, obviously have more applications from more
Certainly.
people and have a choice. It's just getting the word out to the public on that these openings are there, and that something you can raise your hand and say I'm interested in it. So I guess the question would be, is there is there a way we could, is there a technology fix for this? Is there a way that we can make that more transparent? I mean, obviously there's low hanging, put it out on Facebook, put it out on Nextdoor.
Mention at town meeting, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, of course. But is there a way to streamline the process of applying from Word docs and email to online forums, and then promoting those or publicizing those across social media and so on. So that was that was why I put that on.
One suggestion was I'm not personally, I'm a permanent resident. So some of these positions for meetings are open almost to everybody who lives in the town.
Yes.
Whereas others, you need to be a citizen.
Yep, don't have to be a voter.
So that might be something that should be noted in there.
Yes. That's a really good point. And appointed positions, on committees as well.
I'm not the only one here with a permanent residency. There's so many foreigners in town, and because the town lives off Harvard, MIT, and who works there.
Yes.
So that might be something.
Expats are huge.
Because it might open up positions to more people.
Yes. Yeah, I think that, again, I think one of the things we need to do is, cast a wide net, tap that breadth of talent in the town. And I guess the question is, obviously I think, streamline it, make it easy, get the word out. All those are.
Well, certainly things like this, if they have a wider audience, might actually get people more involved and feel a little bit more aware of what volunteer positions there are available at the time.
Okay. Are there other items, agenda things that grievances need to be airing grievances?
Running short on time. But
we are, and I know
I'd
Amy's
like to
been.
get going.
Amy wants to get going. I really appreciate you sticking around. Okay. Do we want to just quickly schedule the next meeting? Sure. Probably sooner rather than later, given that we're. Do we want to try and do it in as little as like 2 or 3 weeks, and so we can maybe just do a quick? No, forget it. Okay, you're right.
I have so much travel between vacation and work in December.
You'll make it.
It's just not
Do
possible.
you want to shoot for like first or second week in January? 15th is Martin Luther King Day. We could do it the week before that or later in that week.
certain times when things shut down.
So what's being proposed? First or second week of January?
Do we want to try like Tuesday the 9th or Wednesday the 10th?
Either of those would work for me.
Wednesday, I might not be able to come.
Is Tuesday the 9th work for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tuesdays are good.
Okay. Thank you so much for bringing meeting out and letting us check it out. It's so cool, and I really appreciate you taking the time. All right. Somebody want to move to adjourn the subcommittee meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No? All right. Thanks so much, and Sebastian. And
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for stopping by. Come again. Okay, let me stop with that.